Get on all fours and bark. The words echoed off the concrete walls. 150 students held their breath. A nervous chuckle broke the silence but was instantly cut short when Marcus's head snapped toward the sound. Hannah's eyes stayed fixed on the floor. Her hands trembled, but if anyone had really looked, truly looked, they would have noticed something strange. The shaking followed a rhythm. 7, 8, 9. Did you hear me? Marcus's voice dropped lower, more dangerous. I said, get on your knees and bark like the dog you are. The circle of students tightened, phones raised like weapons. Hannah Walker stood in the center. Her small frame looked even smaller against the hulking presence of Marcus Thompson, 6 feet tall, 100 kilos of muscle and malice. The harsh glow of the Westfield gym's fluorescent lights carved deep shadows across his face as he leaned close enough for her to smell the protein shake on his breath. The crowd loved it. They always loved it when Marcus found a new target. The invisible girl who sat at the back of every class, ate lunch alone, and walked the hallways like a ghost was perfect prey. What they didn't know was that Hannah Walker was counting backward to calm herself. Counting down to 0. 3 weeks ago, Hannah had made a mistake. She was exhausted, training at 5:30 in the morning before school, fights at 11:30 p.m. Pacific Time. After school she was drained, so when Sakai accidentally dropped her books in the hallway, she reacted. Just a slight shift of weight, a small motion, but enough to completely unbalance his shove. He stumbled past her in confusion. No one else noticed, except Marcus. Marcus Thompson ruled Westfield High like a king over peasants. Captain of the football team, nephew of the mayor, 6 years of wrestling training, and a father who taught him that strength was the only currency that mattered. He built his reputation by crushing anyone who thought they could stand up for themselves. And now he had found his next project. I'll count to 3, Marcus announced, playing to the audience. 1. Hannah's fingers twitched. In another life, in her real life, those same hands had taken down Antonio Arrivos. Those small, trembling fingers carried 47 consecutive wins in places where losing meant a hospital visit, not humiliation. 2. She thought of her 16-year-old brother lying in a hospital bed, fighting a different battle. Leukemia didn't care about underground championships or school hierarchies. It only cared about money. $100,000 for experimental treatment. The insurance company called it not medically necessary. Hannah called it his only chance. 3. The crowd tensed. This was the moment when the invisible girl was supposed to break, cry, beg, obey Marcus like everyone else before her. Because that's how the world worked. The strong devoured the weak. Hannah sank to her knees. The gym erupted. Phones flashed. Someone yelled, "Ball star." Others laughed so hard they nearly dropped their devices. Marcus stood over her like a gladiator claiming victory, arms spread, basking in the adoration of his followers. "That's right," he said loudly enough for every recording. "Know your place. Now bark for daddy." Hannah's lips moved. No sound came out, but they formed numbers. 4, 5, 6. The laughter grew. Everyone thought she was trying to speak but couldn't. Thought fear had stolen her voice. Thought a lot of things. 7, 8, 9. Marcus began to lose patience. The script demanded total humiliation, and quiet submission wasn't enough. He needed her to bark. He needed her to break. He needed the video to go viral before lunch with the caption, "Football star turns weird girl into his pet." So he did what he always did when someone didn't follow his script fast enough. He drew his foot back to kick. Yes, that was the switch. The exact moment between two heartbeats. 1 second Hannah Walker was a trembling girl on her knees. The next she was something else entirely. Her breathing shifted from panicked to controlled. Her shoulders loosened. And in her eyes, when she finally looked up, there was nothing. No fear. No anger. Only the cold calculation of someone who had spent years learning exactly how much force it took to crack a rib cage. "Wait," someone in the crowd whispered. "Look at her face." But Marcus was already in motion. His kick was aimed for her ribs with enough force to knock the wind out of anyone stupid enough to stay put. Hannah didn't stay put. She flowed like water, slipping past the blow. His kick met nothing but air. Marcus, expecting impact, stumbled forward, his own momentum betraying him. Hannah rolled backward, rising into a stance more animal than human. The laughter died. Someone dropped their phone. "Lucky shot," Marcus snarled, trying to keep control. But something in his voice cracked. He'd fought enough to recognize when someone moved with training, not panic. This wasn't panic. "Stand up," he ordered. "Stop playing." Hannah rose slowly, deliberately. No wasted motion. Efficiency only recognizable to those from the underground world, but alien in a school gym. "I already apologized for your friend," she said quietly, but her voice carried. "I asked to be left alone. I told you, you need to learn respect." Marcus stepped closer, looming. "Back on your knees, or what?" Hannah tilted her head slightly. "You'll hit me? Humiliate me? Make my life hell?" She paused. "But you already do." The crowd smelled blood. This was new. Nobody spoke to Marcus Thompson like that. Nobody stood their ground when he went predator mode. "Guys," Marcus barked, eyes locked on Hannah. "Looks like she needs a more serious lesson." 3 football players pushed through the crowd. Zachary Young, the one who started it with a shove, Derek Chin, Marcus's enforcer, and Tyler Rodriguez, who enjoyed causing pain almost as much as Marcus himself. 4 against 1. 2 athletes over 100 kilos each versus a girl who maybe weighed 52 kilos soaking wet. "Still want to play brave?" Marcus asked. Hannah's phone buzzed in her pocket. She didn't need to check. That signal meant Vincent. It meant fight night. It meant another chance to earn money that might save her brother's life. But she couldn't leave, not with these 4 blocking every exit, not with the crowd filming, not with Marcus's reputation demanding escalation until someone got seriously hurt. "I don't want to fight," she said honestly. Fighting here meant exposure. Exposure meant questions. Questions meant the end of everything she'd built in the shadows. "Shame," Marcus said, nodding to his boys. "Because you're about to find out what happens to people who don't respect me." They moved in formation, confident, practiced. They'd done this before, cornered their target, cut off escape, taken turns hitting until the victim broke. But those victims hadn't spent the last 5 years turning themselves into a weapon out of sheer necessity. Zachary went first, aiming for a simple grab. His hand never touched Hannah. She shifted just enough, using his own momentum to send him stumbling past her. To the untrained eye it looked like clumsiness. To anyone who knew, it was textbook redirection. "Stop dancing!" Marcus barked. "Derek, Tyler, grab her!" They rushed from both sides, trying to trap her. Hannah waited until the last second, then dropped flat. Derek and Tyler smashed into each other with bone-rattling force. The crowd gasped. She rolled back, rising at the edge of the circle. "How's she doing that?" someone whispered. "Is she a gymnast?" "That's not gymnastics, bro." Marcus's face burned red. This was supposed to be easy. Intimidate the weird girl, force her to submit, record the video, maintain hierarchy. Instead, his best guys were humiliated by someone who wasn't supposed to know how to throw a punch. Enough. He charged himself, swinging a wild punch that had knocked out 3 other guys this past year. Time slowed for Hannah. She saw the punch like it was moving through syrup, the tell in his shoulder, the sloppy stance that left him wide open, the dozen counters that could have left him unconscious before he even hit the floor. She also saw the phones. The witnesses. The inevitable questions if she revealed what she really was. So she made the choice that would haunt her the next 10 minutes. She let the punch graze her shoulder. The force spun her down to her knees. The crowd gasped, then roared with excitement. The natural order restored. Marcus loomed over her, panting but victorious. "See," he proclaimed to the audience. "It was just luck. But luck runs out." Hannah rubbed her shoulder, realizing he'd pulled the punch slightly at the last moment. Even Marcus had limits. He wanted submission, not a lawsuit. "Last chance," he muttered low so only she could hear. "Get on all fours and bark, or the next hit won't be pulled." Her phone buzzed again. Vincent didn't like to wait. Every minute lost here was one less for fight prep, one less chance to save her brother. But looking at Marcus, at the cruel satisfaction in his eyes, at the crowd hungry for blood, Hannah realized something. She was done hiding. Done pretending to be weak. Done letting people like Marcus Thompson believe they owned this world. "No," she said. The single word cracked through the gym like thunder. Nobody said no to Marcus Thompson. Nobody refused once he had cornered them, once he had broken them. "What did you say?" Hannah rose slowly, pretending to nurse her shoulder. "I said no. I'm done with your games. I'm done being your entertainment. I'm done pretending that strength is the only thing that matters here." "You think you have a choice?" Marcus laughed, but the sound was strained. "You think you can just walk away?" "Yes." Hannah stood tall, and something in her posture made the nearest students instinctively step back. Because here's what was about to happen. She was going to walk out of this. From the gym. "You're going to let me walk out, and tomorrow everyone will pretend nothing ever happened." A pause. "Or I'll stop holding back." The words hung in the air like a challenge. Marcus stared at her. For the first time he really saw how she stood on the balls of her feet, noticed the relaxed but ready position of her hands. Saw eyes that had witnessed violence far beyond schoolyard posturing. "You're lying, Hannah." She smiled. But it wasn't a happy smile, nor one born of fear. It was the same one 47 opponents had seen right before waking up in the ER. "There's only one way to check." Marcus felt the energy of the crowd shifting. They had come for a show, and they got it, but not the one he planned. The invisible girl wasn't breaking, wasn't begging. She stood there as if she truly believed she could beat him. His reputation wouldn't survive this, even if he still won, which he was sure he would. The simple fact that she dared to challenge him cracked the foundation of fear he had spent years building. "Fine," he said, cracking his knuckles. "You want to play, fighter girl? Let's play. But when it's over, you won't just bark, you'll beg." He lunged at her with a technique that had won him 3 district wrestling championships. Low center of gravity, arms wide to prevent escape, the same move that had ended every real fight he'd ever been in. Hannah watched him come with the cold calculation of someone who had faced men twice his size in places where a referee's only job was making sure nobody died. She had 2 options: let him take her down and hope someone intervened before it went too far, or reveal herself in front of everyone and accept the consequences. Her brother's face rose in her mind, pale, thin, but still smiling, still believing his big sister would find a way to save him. Vincent's fights paid $5,000 for a win, $20,000 for a title defense. The $100,000 prize at the tournament that night could save their lives. If she exposed herself here, all of that vanished. But if she let Marcus Thompson slam her onto the gym floor, something else would vanish, the last piece of her that remembered how to stand tall. The decision made itself. Marcus was less than a meter away when Hannah moved. To the crowd it looked like magic. One moment she was still. The next she spun aside like a matador with a bull. Her hand brushed his shoulder as he passed, just a touch, but at the perfect angle to amplify his momentum and send him crashing into the crowd. Students scattered. Marcus hit the floor, rolling twice before stopping. When he lifted his head, his expression shifted from rage to something close to disbelief. "Wrestling is good," Hannah said casually, as if they were talking sports over lunch. "It's great for controlling opponents your size. But it has huge gaps when you're up against someone trained in multiple disciplines." She saw the moment he realized it. Saw the flash in his eyes, the recognition that she wasn't just some weird girl who'd gotten lucky a few times. This was something else. Something dangerous. "Who are you?" he asked, rising more cautiously this time. Hannah's phone buzzed a 3rd time. Vincent was losing patience. She needed to finish this now. "Hey, that's the ghost!" A voice shouted from the crowd. A younger kid, maybe a sophomore, held up his phone, showing a YouTube video. "Look, same height, same build, same style of movement. That's the ghost from the underground fights." Everything froze. The ghost. The name ripped through the crowd like fire. Everyone had heard the rumors. A fighter undefeated in illegal arenas. 47 wins. Most by knockout. Nobody knew the real identity because the ghost always fought in a hood and mask. But the videos were legendary, brutal, efficient, terrifying. "No way," someone muttered. "The ghost is taller, jacked with muscle." Camera angles. Idiot. Look at the footwork. Look how she moves. More phones appeared. More videos loaded. Side-by-side comparisons between Hannah's movements in the gym and shaky footage from abandoned warehouses where people paid cash to watch violence without rules. Marcus went pale. You're the ghost. Hannah didn't bother to deny it. There was no point. The evidence was on 50 screens. The same footwork. The same efficient strikes. The same way of turning violence into a dance. Holy shit, Derek whispered, backing away. She could kill us. She could kill us all, Tyler added. Their bravado evaporated like morning mist. The gym became a pressure cooker. 150 students frozen, trying to process the revelation. The quiet girl they had ignored for 3 years was actually one of the most dangerous underground fighters in the state. Marcus's jaw worked, but no words came out. His whole world, built on the certainty that he was the apex predator in this ecosystem, was collapsing. The script had shifted so far he no longer knew his lines. This is impossible, he finally muttered. The ghost fights grown men, fighters, professionals, killers, and wins, someone added. Hannah's phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't a text. Vincent was calling. She declined without looking, but everyone heard the ringtone. The Rocky theme. Someone in the underground thought it was funny when they programmed it. So what now? Hannah asked, genuinely curious. You wanted me to bark like a dog? To humiliate me? Post it online? Erase me? She tilted her head, still feeling bold. The challenge hung between them. Marcus had 2 options: back down in front of everyone and destroy his reputation, or fight someone who had just been revealed as an undefeated fighter with dozens of professional wins. Pride won. With Marcus, pride always won. I don't care what you do in some street fight club, he snarled, trying to reclaim his shattered confidence. This is my house. My rules. And you're still just some freak girl who's had enough. A voice rose from the crowd. Soft, scared, but steady. A girl, a freshman, stepped forward. Ashley Martinez. Small, quiet, the kind who tried to stay invisible just to survive high school. Just stop, Ashley said, tears in her eyes. Please. Don't you see what you're doing? What you've been doing this whole time? Shut up. Marcus roared. This isn't your business. It is my business. Her voice cracked open the dam. You made my brother drop out. He loved football, but you and your friends bullied him every day because he wasn't good enough. Because he was different. Because you could. More voices joined in. Students who found courage in numbers, and in the presence of the girl who had just shown that Marcus Thompson wasn't untouchable. You sent Jake Morrison to the hospital. You destroyed Becky's art project because she wouldn't go out with you. You've terrorized this school for 4 years. Marcus's head snapped around, trying to pinpoint who was speaking, memorizing faces for revenge later, but there were too many. The spell was breaking. Shut up. He bellowed. All of you, shut up. I'm in charge here. You're not in charge of anything. Hannah's voice cut through his hysteria like a blade. She stepped forward, and though he still stood taller, somehow she seemed bigger. You're just a scared little boy who hurts others because someone first hurt you. Because your father told you power is all that matters. Because you're terrified that if you stop crushing people, you'll realize how small you really are. Each word hit like a strike. Marcus's face shifted from rage to humiliation to something that almost looked like pain. You don't know anything about me, he whispered. I know everything about you, Hannah answered. I've fought 50 versions of you. Different faces, same pain. Same need to break everything beautiful because something beautiful in you was broken. The gym went silent. Even those still filming lowered their phones, caught by something deeper than just a viral video. But here's the difference between you and me, Hannah continued. I learned to fight to protect people. You learned to fight to hurt them. That's why you'll always lose to someone like me. Not because I'm stronger, faster, or better trained. But because I'm not afraid of you. And now, they're not afraid of you either. She pointed to the crowd. Marcus looked around and saw it was true. The fear was gone. Replaced by anger, by resolve, by the collective realization that the Emperor had no clothes. His phone rang. The sound shattered the moment like a brick through glass. He snatched at it desperately, clinging to any distraction. What? He barked into it, then went pale. What do you mean expelled? You can't. Dad. But the line went dead. Principal Coleman's voice echoed through the loudspeakers. Marcus Thompson. Derek Chen. Zachary Young. Tyler Rodriguez. Report to the principal's office immediately. You will be escorted. 4 security officers entered the gym. Not just school staff, real police. Hannah spotted the badges. What's happening? Tyler whimpered. One officer held a tablet, showing clear footage from the school's security cameras, ironically installed by Marcus's uncle, the mayor, to stop vandalism. Assault. Threats. Conspiracy, the officer listed. And that's just today. In the last hour we've received 23 more complaints from students about incidents going back years. You can't arrest me, Marcus shouted, backing away. My uncle's the mayor. My father owns. Your uncle is currently at an emergency city council meeting, the officer interrupted. Discussing his immediate resignation, the officer interrupted. Turns out covering for your nephew's abuse isn't exactly a popular idea. And your father? He's the one who told us where to find you. Said he's tired of cleaning up after you. Those words hit Marcus harder than any punch could. He looked around, desperate for support, for anyone still afraid enough to help him, but all he found were cold stares and raised phones. This is all your fault, he spat at Han, tears streaming down his face. You ruined everything. You ruined my life. No, Han said quietly. You ruined your own life. I just stopped letting you ruin everyone else's. As the officers led him out of the gym, Marcus did something no one expected. He stopped at the door, turned back, and for a moment the mask slipped completely. Beneath it was only a broken boy who had learned all the wrong lessons about strength. I'm sorry, he whispered, then louder, for the whole gym to hear. I'm sorry. And then he was gone. The gym didn't erupt in cheers, but something like a collective sigh filled the air. 3 years of held breath finally released. Students hugged, some cried, others just stood in stunned silence, trying to process the sudden shift in their world. Han headed toward the exit. She still had a fight waiting for her. Vincent would be furious, but... Ghost. The word froze her. Not because someone had called her fight name, but because she recognized the voice. Vincent Kane stood in the doorway, flanked by 2 massive bodyguards. An elegant suit, a gold watch, the man who had built his fortune on the blood and pain of others. And where do you think you're going? He asked pleasantly. We have a tournament, remember? Students backed away. Even after Marcus's fall, they recognized a new predator when they saw one. Vincent radiated that effortless menace of someone no one ever said no to and survived. How did you find me? Han asked, though she already knew the answer. The videos were everywhere now. Her identity was fully exposed. Please, he smiled like a shark. I've known who you were for months. Did you really think a hood and mask would fool anyone who mattered? But I respected your privacy. You made me money, big money. And tonight, you'll make me even more. Prize money, $100,000. Winner takes all. Ghost versus the best fighters money can buy. You already signed the contract, remember? Break it, and everything's mine. Your house. Your mother's car. Your brother's medical debt. All of it. Han felt the trap close. This was why Vincent had allowed her double life. He'd just been waiting for the perfect moment to spring it. My brother needs that money, she said. Then fight for him, the way you always have. Like the animal you pretend not to be. She's not an animal. Eleanor Archon, the school psychologist, pushed her way through the crowd. She was scared, but determined. She's 17. What you're doing is illegal. Illegal? Vincent chuckled. I'm a licensed sports promoter. She signed a contract. She can leave any time, of course, with certain penalties. Just ask Tommy Gonzalez. Eleanor pulled out her phone and showed a news story. A 16-year-old fighter who had tried to leave Vincent's organization. His house had burned down. Officially, an accident. Careful, Miss Psychologist. Defamation is an ugly word. So are human trafficking, child exploitation, and organized crime, Eleanor shot back. Did you know the FBI's been building a case against you for 3 years? They just needed someone inside to document your operations. Vincent narrowed his eyes. You're lying. Han pulled a small device from her pocket. A recorder, the kind the FBI issued their informants. Every fight, every conversation, every threat, she said softly. 3 months of evidence. They reached out after my 35th fight. Said they'd protect my brother if I helped. Said they'd pay for his treatment if I got them what they needed to bring you down. Vincent's bodyguards reached for their weapons, but 50 phones were already raised, recording, live streaming to thousands. Think you're clever? Vincent sneered. Yes, Han replied simply. You think the FBI doesn't care about some teenage girl? I've got judges, politicians, cops. Had, Eleanor corrected. Past tense. They've been arresting your people all day. Your network is gone, Vincent. It's over. Sirens wailed outside. Not 1 or 2, but dozens, the sound of a coordinated raid. Vincent glared at Han with pure hatred. You ruined everything. Years of work. Millions of dollars. All for a sick brother who's going to die anyway. Han moved before anyone could stop her. Not with the brutal force of Ghost, but with the controlled fury of a sister protecting her family. A straight palm strike to the solar plexus. Vincent collapsed, gasping for air. His name is David, she said, standing over him. He's 16. He loves video games and dumb jokes. And he's going to live, because people like you won't own people like me anymore. FBI agents stormed the gym, precise and professional. They had Vincent in cuffs before he could catch his breath. His bodyguards surrendered without a fight, smart enough to know when they were outnumbered. Miss Walker, outstanding work, Special Agent Martinez told Han. Your handler said you'd deliver, but you've exceeded expectations. Your brother's already approved for experimental treatment. Full coverage. The FBI always keeps its promises. She handed Han an envelope. Also, a reward for the information that dismantled a major trafficking network. It's not life-changing money, Han said, thinking of all the ways it could be used. But it's more than enough. As the FBI led Vincent away, students began approaching Han. At first cautiously, then in a wave. Can you teach us? I want to learn how to defend myself. My little sister's being bullied. Can you show her a few moves? Is it true you've never lost a fight? Han looked at Eleanor, who smiled back. The gym's free after classes. I bet the principal would approve a self-defense club with proper supervision. I don't want to teach violence, Han said. Then teach defense. Teach resilience. Teach people like Ashley they don't have to be victims, Eleanor replied, pointing at the crowd. Look at what happened today. You didn't just beat Marcus Thompson. You showed everyone that bullies only have the power we allow them to have. Han thought about it. No more underground fights. No more hiding who she was. Just teaching scared kids not to be afraid. Teaching the strong to use their strength responsibly. All right, she said. But we'll do it the right way. No revenge, no aggression. Only defense and discipline. The cheer that followed probably echoed across the city. Remember, Han said loudly, strength is not for hurting others. It's for protecting what matters, for rising when it's hard, for being a shield, not a sword. The class repeated in unison. In the corner, Derrickson watched from his wheelchair. The assault charges had been dropped thanks to his testimony, but the shame had broken him. He had tried to hurt himself, but survived. Now he attended every session, not participating, just observing, learning, maybe healing. Seonhan raised her hand. A new student, recently transferred. Is it true you've never lost a fight? Han smiled. I've lost many fights, just not physical ones. Every time I let fear control me, I lost. Every time I stayed silent when someone needed help, I lost. Every time I used my skills to hurt instead of protect, I lost. But you won when it mattered most, Ashley said. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. We all won, Han corrected. That day in the gym wasn't about fighting. It was about choice. And they had all chosen not to be afraid anymore. That was the only victory that truly mattered. Her phone vibrated. A message from David: "The treatment is working. Doctors say I'm responding better than anyone in the study. Movie tonight." She quickly replied, "Wouldn't miss it. Love you, warrior." 5-minute break. The students dispersed, excitedly chatting about techniques, tournaments, and whether Cian Han would show them Ghost's famous finishing move. Eleanor approached her. "Principal Coleman wants to know if you'd consider teaching at the high school as well. Looks like our anti-bullying program is getting noticed." "I'll think about it," Han said, watching her students. Some were natural athletes. Others could barely land a punch. But all of them stood far more confidently than 6 months ago. "How's Marcus?" Eleanor's expression became thoughtful. "He's finishing a program at a juvenile center. His mentor says he's making progress. He wants to apologize to everyone he hurt once he's out." "People can change," Han said, "if they really want to." "By the way, about changes," Eleanor held up a letter. "MIT wants to offer you a full scholarship. They were impressed with your essay on applying martial arts principles to engineering challenges. ****. Han took the letter and read it quickly. A future she never dared dream of opened before her. University, a career, life beyond fights. "I'll think about it," she repeated. Break was over. Students returned to their places without being told. Han watched them with pride and something deeper. They weren't just learning to fight, they were learning to rise, to protect, to choose courage over fear. "All right," she said. "Time to practice releases. Remember, the best fight is the one we avoid." Outside, Marcus Thompson watched through the gym windows. His parents had finally allowed him a day in the city. He asked for only one thing: to see what Han had built on the ashes of his empire. She saw him through the glass. Their eyes met. A moment of understanding passed between former enemies. Then Marcus did something unexpected. He bowed deeply and formally, like a student greeting their teacher. Han bowed back, then turned to her class. Some battles are won with fists, others with words. But the most important ones, the ones that really matter, are won by showing people how to be truly strong. Ghost was gone. She had completed her mission and saved what needed saving. But Hannah Walker was very much alive, and she had a purpose. In the end, the strongest fighters are those who fight for others, not against them. In the gym, which once echoed with cruel laughter, the footsteps of 60 students learning to defend, not hunt, now resounded. Sometimes the best revenge is not revenge, it's transformation. A year later, Han stood in a hospital corridor, watching David through the window, laughing with other patients in the recovery ward. Her hair had grown back, color returned to her cheeks. The experimental treatment had worked better than anyone expected. A familiar voice came from behind. She turned and saw Marcus Thompson in a simple t-shirt and jeans. No designer clothes, no arrogance, just a young man who had learned some hard lessons. "I heard you got released early for good behavior. I got my high school diploma and started hosting anti-bullying seminars for other kids in the rehab center. I wanted to thank you for not pressing extra charges. And thanks for the letter you sent to the judge, supporting rehabilitation instead of punishment. Everyone deserves a second chance," Han said simply. "Not everyone gets one." He pulled out an envelope. "I worked construction, saved up money. For your brother's medical fund. I know the FBI paid for treatment, but there are always extra costs." Han eyed the envelope warily. "Marcus, I can't take this. Please, let me let you do at least one good thing. Let me let you start fixing what you broke." She accepted the envelope, noticing the calloused hands of the boy. Real work. Honest work. What's next? Maybe local college. Maybe one day become a counselor, helping kids before they become like I was. He paused. "My father still won't talk to me. Says I'm weak now. But I think, maybe this is what being strong really means." Through the window, David noticed them talking. He waved energetically, and Marcus waved back. "Your brother's a great kid." "He is," Han said. He says anyone can be a warrior. The key is choosing the right battles. They stood in comfortable silence, former enemies turned mutual understanding. Outside, the sun set over a city forever changed, a city where strength now meant protecting, not dominating, where even ghosts could find peace. A message appeared on Han's phone from Sarah Martinez, the girl she saved that day in the cafeteria. I got into art school. I couldn't have done it without your belief in me. Coffee tomorrow. Han smiled, typing quickly. Of course. The elevator dinged, and Coach Martinez stepped out with a box of donuts. Thought David would like these, he said, then froze. You know, I've been coaching for 30 years, trained dozens of champions. But what you did, choosing not to fight when you could have destroyed them, that's the hardest lesson. My father always said it, the strongest boxer is the one who never has to strike. A wise man. The coach looked at her with admiration. The Olympic Committee had called again. They really want you on the national team. Han shook her head. Maybe someday. Right now, I have other battles. Through the window, she watched David enthusiastically explaining something to another patient, gesturing wildly like he was demonstrating boxing moves. Even from here, his joy, his unbroken spirit, shone through. And in that small hospital room, as the sun set over a city forever transformed, Hannah Walker continued her true calling, not as a champion winning with fists, but as a mentor winning hearts.